So now that it has been about over a year since I have installed the first Coldframe, and I've since acquired two, and I think I've already provided an update or two regarding this whole process. I want to really kind of take a look at where I am with these Coldframes today and document it. Of course, as I've gained more experience with using these Coldframes, there have been some things that I've learned, some things that worked out well, some things that didn't work out well, as well as new ideas and new possibilities that may exist in the future. So that is essentially what I want to explore in this video. Alright, so this is taking a look at the first Coldframe that I have set up here. As you can see, it's mid-December, and a lot of the plants are kind of dying back or going back into a more dormant state. In this one, pretty much what's planted in here is parsley and kale, and these parsley plants were transplanted in the fall of last year from the garden into this Coldframe to see if they could survive the winter, which they did, and they produced a bunch of seed which I was able to collect. Now, some of these plants have not completely died. There are especially these two plants right in the middle that are actually look like they may even come back another year. And with this kale, I think there are 2 or 3 kale plants in here that I transplanted last fall. So this would, if they survived to this spring, that means that they would have lived 3 years instead of 4. So you can kind of see I did cut them back, and they've kind of re-sprouted. More of that energy might be stored in the roots right now, but we'll see if they're able to come back and grow in the spring and produce another harvest of seeds. A couple of garlic mustard plants in here as well. This is the trunk of one of the kale plants here. And I cut it back, so I'm wondering if that will conserve its energy and if it can store it over the winter time and come back in the spring. I don't know. We'll see. Here we are looking at the second Coldframe. We have some more kale plants in here, some turnips down in the back corner, and there's a rosemary plant behind this post. Now you can see it. And zoom in on that. So this was a rosemary plant that I had bought as a transplant, and as you can see, it's gotten kind of squashed from the glass roof of the Coldframe. I'm going to try to cut that back a little bit so that it hopefully won't be so damaged by the frost by being pressed up against the glass. But aside from that, it's been doing quite well. So I also, you can't really see in here, I did put in some goji berry seedlings. I believe that is one right down in there, and hopefully they will be able to survive the winter in the Coldframe. I've heard that like first year plants can have a little bit of a challenge surviving like more like cooler temperate region winters, so we'll have to see how that goes. A garlic mustard plant there that just came up, motherwort plant there as well, and these two are rutabagas that I had transplanted in there last year. It seems like there's still some life in the roots, but we'll have to see if anything comes of that in the spring. Other than that, I was able to harvest a bunch of seed from them this year, so I will be able to be planting new plants in the early spring, or well, actually probably May. In the back here, the dark purple leaves, those are beet plants that I tried to sow in the Coldframe, and I also tried to sow some beet plants outside. I noticed that the germination rates of the beet plants in the cold frame, when they were planted in the same time of year to the ones outside, the ones that were planted in the cold frame, they germinated in a much more inspiring fashion. So, you know, the germination rate was well beyond the skimpy germination rate what I had planted out in the garden that was open to the elements. The beets that were in the cold frame, I think the moisture content of the soil was much more controlled, keeping the soil environment consistently damp. It may have added in some extra heat, which may have helped speed and help affect the germination rate in a beneficial way. I don't think I'm gonna really focus too much on growing beets from here on out, even so. But if I do get some seeds off of this, maybe I will be able to plant some more in the future. And if I do, it will probably be in the cold frames. Back to the turnips. So yeah, these guys did really well in the cold frames. I noticed that their roots, the turnips themselves, grew really huge in the cold frames. All of them, even when they were planted close together. Like the yield in the cold frame in 1 square foot was, I'm tempted to say, like double or almost triple that of what would have been in 1 square foot of outside the cold frame, like in normal garden conditions. I'm wondering if this is for similar reasons, moisture, control of moisture and temperature. But yeah, those did very well. They are getting a little nibbled. They are getting a little bit by voles right now, but they may still survive. We'll see. Of course, this is just a bunch of bed straw that came up, acting as a winter ground cover. So what we have in this third cold frame is pretty much just all kale. We have a few different types of kale plants. There's some type of green leaf variety. I'm not sure what that is. There's curly kale, red Russian. Well, the curly kale is the kale with the curly leaves, if that wasn't obvious. And then the red Russian, there's one hiding behind that support post. There's another one right here. Now you can see it. Yep, there, and they're just kind of interspersed. This one might be a dinosaur kale. I'm not 100% sure on that. And then it looks like the voles have also been busy in here. They haven't seemed to be eating too much, but they have been around. So you know, this is all kale that was planted back in the spring. And it's formed a nice little canopy here in the cold frame, and hopefully it'll set some seed next year. Maybe I'll pick and choose certain varieties or a variety, so that there's hopefully not really any cross-pollination or the timing of when certain plants bolt versus when other plants bolt. I don't know, we'll see what happens. So additionally, I'm thinking of adding a 4th cold frame so it's ready to go for the springtime, and then maybe I can grow some cabbages and such in there. So that's all I have for this cold frame update. Thanks for watching, and feel free to check back in soon. Take care.